So we work with another Phoenix-based company called Corekinect, whose specialty is in producing flexible, low-priced, easy to customize digital tracking devices. Together we've called this solution FreshTrack. And as we know, in any delivery process, the objective for all parties is really to create quality, trust, and authenticity throughout the entire chain of custody. So I promise you I'm going to deliver something. It's going to have a certain quality associated with it, and I can prove that I delivered that. All the way from the origin of wherever this is coming to the end consumer. So it's what we're referring to these days as protecting the integrity of food from farm to fork. But problems can arise anywhere in this supply chain that can create loss. So for instance, if certain perishables are stored with a temperature out of range, if the humidity is out of range, if there's shock that damages the product, as might be the cases, for instance, with eggs or peaches, then you're going to want to know about that when you're the guy that's responsible for checking the quality of food when it arrives at the grocery store loading dock. And the actual genesis of this problem, when we came to know of it, was grocery stores having found out that the product that was being delivered to them by trucks, the truck drivers, in order to save fuel and increase their margin, had been turning off the refrigeration units on those trucks for quite a long time during transport. And if that's from one side of the country to the other, that could be a matter of days. But what they were then doing is turning it on an hour or two before they got to the loading dock of the grocery store, so that when it arrived, everything looked great. It was the right temperature at the time, but when it got to the shelves in the grocery store, it would only last for 1 or 2 days instead of 5 to 7 days. And so the grocery stores were starting seeing loss as a result of that, and they were looking for a solution. So FreshTrack is essentially a flexible tracker that you can put on every box or every pallet of food in a truck. And that will then monitor the shipment and each individual product within the shipment and give the loading dock the ability to reject perishable goods. And you might want to know, what's the economic impact of something like that? Well, a full truck of high quality produce could be anywhere between $60,000 to $100,000 of retail value. And so that's a lot of value to protect and justifies then a solution to do that. So when it gets there, I'll show you how this works in a second. They can review the data on a per store basis. So this is all my shipments today, and this is the QA, the quality assurance data for each of those. Or a regional organization can go through and say, okay, here are all these different shipping companies across my 10 stores, and I see I'm having a lot of problems with this particular company. And then I can address that on a corporate level as well. But you can imagine if there's 60 to 100 grand worth of value on the line, that there's likely to be some argument about whether or not this data is correct at the point that there's a conflict that arises. So that's why Corekinect reached out to us, and we were able to help them implement our technology to encrypt all of the data that comes from the trackers, to guarantee its integrity, which means we can prove that it hasn't been tampered with, and we can prove that it came from the exact piece of hardware that we say it came from. And so that's really, really critical to create a chain of trust all the way from one end of the value chain to the other. So these flexible disposable tags, you can see here's an example of one. You can imagine that it's probably about the size of 4 postage stamps, and it is bendable that way. What you're seeing in the big chip on there is a Bluetooth BLE chip, which is able to communicate, in this case, with this implementation, with a local beacon at the grocery store, that as soon as the truck arrives, it collects all of the data, sends it up to the cloud, and makes it available to the grocery store and to everyone else who has access to it. And then in this particular case, because they wanted to implement this quickly and they needed a small and easy to integrate solution, just right at the fold on the left side, you can see another small black chip, which is our Pico SE discrete secure element. that works as part of our keystream system. So that's what helps them make sure all the data is protected, encrypted, access controlled, etc. So once you have all that data, the question is then, okay, what do you do with it? And let me just jump ahead to show you exactly what that is going to look like. So if I'm a regional manager, I've got my list here of grocery stores, and these are all the ones that belong to me, and I can see the store number, I can see where they're located on a map. Then I drill down to one store that just happens to be in New York, and I can see here I have a lot of shipments that I've already accepted today, which is great, but I have one that's rejected, and I have one that hasn't come in yet. So I've had a problem with one, and then I'm waiting on another one. So that's very useful to know. Let me drill down into the shipment that just arrived and look and see that for each individual one of the products in this shipment, and in this case I had 3 products, I had leeks, I had plums, and I had tomatoes. Each one of those can actually have different parameters associated with it in the backend cloud application. So I see that Q&A failed on the tomatoes, and if I want to go in and see more detail about that, I can see it's because they were out of range for a certain period of time that I can see both in the log and the graph. And then I can scale down and go look and see, I didn't have a QA failure, but I did have a QA warning on the humidity side as well on my plums. So there's some issues there. And I can see that those issues on a distributor basis are causing me troubles with this particular supplier because they've had a number of different QA failures and warnings and a very low pass rate. And so chances are I need to reach out to them and either work with them to improve that or to terminate the contract. Here's where I can set what the thresholds are for each individual tag. So I know I've got an unnamed product that's a new tag that's just being put into service. I'm going to say what kind of product it is, what the barcode on that is, and what the temperature thresholds are that I want to set for that. And that's all easily done in a nice back-end application. And last but not least, at the end of the day, what this is really all about is putting the power and the information in the hands of the end user to make a decision. So I've got, might be, you know, a few $100s, might be a few tens of thousands of dollars that I'm responsible for deciding on, is this going to help me meet my sales targets or not this month based on the quality that it's delivering. And I need to be able to press the red button and say reject. And then I need to be able to back that up with the data that's required and the trust that's required to say that that was the right decision. So this is just one of many different types of solutions that we're helping our customers create. And you can see that that particular solution we also took through, excuse me, the entire process of the 8 steps that we described to you from beginning to end in order to make sure that that product not only makes it to market in the first place, because I think that's what most of us in reality are focused on, but rather that it's successful and sustainable in the long term. You know, a tag like this might have a lifetime of, you know, just 6 months based on the battery life, but an industrial application, an industrial device needs to be able to produce, in some cases, reliable, secure data for decades. And so, again, not trying to build Fort Knox for everything, but making sure, as they say in the UK, horses for courses, that we're building the right solutions to address the right threats and the right opportunities at the right cost. Just one last piece of, I think, third-party validation from ABI Research, who's one of our partners, who, after getting to know us, put out this particular statement saying, you know, really designing security into products and ecosystems is one of the most important success factors in IoT, as well as managing the product's long-term security lifecycle. So I think if there's one message that I'd leave with you, it's that Michaela expressed it very well here, that have a security by design mentality and have a security lifecycle management mentality, and make sure that whatever you're building, and I'm sure it's certainly extremely cool, that it's protected the way it deserves to be protected for the long term.